Yeah, so it's very exciting. I'm very pleased with all the different decks that are coming out. And as we were just saying, if people are going to be forced to play things that aren't Tier 1, most people have decided to lose with style.
That's right. I think it's the best way to do it. I mean, okay, so we're going to move to the game here. So it looks like DLR Val,
And he's already got 2 wireless net pavilions and a daily cast down. So it looks like first round was install, gain a credit on the corp side based on what I can see.
Yep, that's what I would agree with. We see the daily cast played out, pretty standard. So it looks like we're, scoring the hostile takeover early.
Okay, so...
Yeah, Val's pretty happy to have a second bad pub.
Extra bad pub.
Trash all those things for nothing.
Yeah. But since we are seeing an Argus matchup with Elad, he's unlikely to be playing any assets, maybe a DRT.
Probably not, yeah.
But I can't imagine he's really playing any assets.
No. I think earlier we saw a Blue Sun deck that was playing Corporate Town, for the obvious trashing capabilities. So I'm curious to see.
We can also see a snare in that Argus hand. I just caught a glimpse of that.
Yep, looks pretty standard build for an Argus deck. I think I don't think we're going to see a lot of surprises out of this deck.
Yep.
So
and Lori on runner side is holding a blackmail, data leak reversal, and already has the Hades shard in hand. So he really has the entire DLR kit except for the off-campus apartment in hand.
But I think really all he'd like is one more fall guy, and I think he's comfortable starting to mill some cards.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs a whole lot more at that point. I mean, he'd like to get obviously he'd love to get the card draw going for the blackmail access. I don't think I don't think that Scrubber is going to see a lot of play here. So I think he's wise to discard that, and I think he realizes it too. Obviously Eladad is pretty happy to score that hostile. It makes every card that comes out potentially an archer.
Yeah.
Obviously right now
we see the eyebrow tweak from Eladad.
Yep. So we just need the Joshua B to get the tags going. I mean, obviously the difficult matchup is, you don't want to take the tag too early. You got to get that paparazzi out here on the board.
Yeah, so, especially against somebody like Argus.
Yep. So I don't think he's drawn it yet. So I think it's the last piece he's really, really looking for before he can start thinking about it.
That's something I haven't thought of.
Yep.
Does paparazzi say that you can't be dealt meat damage or you don't take meat damage?
I think something like you ignore.
You're immune to meat damage, so that negates Argus's ability. You can take the meat damage every time, and it just rolls off of you.
Yep.
That's rough.
Yeah, so in this matchup, I mean, it does double duty.
And also on his first agenda steal, he can also choose to take the tag to start the DLR.
Absolutely, he doesn't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So Eladad, Oaktown, fantastic agenda. I think it's the best agenda that's come up for Wayland in a long time. I really think Wayland struggles. They have a lot of barriers, but they don't have anything that really has teeth. Right. There's nothing that really scares the runner from just kind of running where they want to go right now. Right,
and this is one of the discussions that people often have when you're discussing Wayland, is his barriers, by the very nature of the way the theme of the game has been designed, are the ice that don't have teeth.
Right.
So Wayland is the only faction that doesn't have ice that when it's rezzed, you really freak out, except for Archer, right?
Yep. And that's an interesting thing. You look at the original core design, cards like Archer, like Caduceus, those are the kind of cards that you expected more out of Wayland. And then it was just all barriers. That's all we really saw.
Right.
There hasn't been really anything exciting since the core release for Wayland. It's really put them, in that competitive nature with a lot of these decks out there.
Well, and the other biggest issue that we've discussed many times in the Philly meta about Wayland is that meat damage is incredibly powerful in this game, as the last year of this game since Last Worlds has shown.
It's been a constant since, I remember, season 1, you were seeing people put Scorched Earths in PE decks,
Right, but in order to deal with the power of meat damage in any age in other decks, they ended up accidentally hurting Wayland as a faction a lot more because they rely on that meat damage as a secondary win condition since their ice doesn't have teeth. So when you put cards in play that deal with meat damage in NBN, you're backdoor nerfing Wayland.
Right. And I think, up until recently, I think Wayland had the same issue that Anarch did for a long time, is their cards work better in other people's decks, right? Obviously Faust, I think Faust is a little too powerful with its cheap install costs. Solved basically all of Anarch's real issues with one card, which is incredible.
So looking at the board state, the blackmail was played to retrieve the Oaktown renovation.
It was a little gutsy from Eladad to really try and push that out, and really hoping that Lori hadn't drawn into one of the blackmails already. It was a little surprising, but I think Eladad feels like he just really got to score something out here quickly. I mean, this matchup does not favor grind. Typically, I mean, this deck, against Val, obviously, you just got to kind of score fast as quickly as you can, put the pressure. So Eladad, he's not worrying about money. It looks like he's pretty comfortable here. Elad,
Yeah,
my apologies.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So,
yeah, I mean, this is a really tough matchup for Wayland, just period.
So Elad really kind of, I'm not sure if he's running
Jackson.
Caprice. So he's looking for something to protect his agenda right here.
Well, if he can get the kill combo out before the paparazzi hits the table, he's still definitely got a chance to win this game.
Oh,
if he can stick a
absolutely.
tag before that.
Yep.
But the problem is with what Lori already has set up, there's no need for the Lori to run until he's ready.
Right.
Because Argus does not really rush to 6 points very fast.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're a slower deck. I mean, Wayland just by nature is, they have any good ways of fast advancing. So they have to play the long game.
I think
they need the protection.
I think that might be the snare, but we'll see. That just went into that.
Right. But again, I don't think Lori really has to worry about running on it. Even if it's 3-2, I think he's okay giving it up right here.
Yep, and
An Atlas without a counter isn't nearly as useful.
No, but it's a daily business show. We also see a drug dealer and 2 more copies of Fall Guy hit the table.
So again, he's just really looking for that paparazzi, and then he's ready to go.
Right. Because once that hits the table, he's gonna have Elad is gonna have to spend 18 credits and 3 clicks just to get to the DLR.
Which is, I mean, even if you do that, you're broke. You're gonna struggle.
Arguably, the only green corp that could do that with impunity would be Blue Sun.
I would agree. Most of these Wayland decks, though, I think they all comfortably make money. I mean, obviously, Blue Sun has the best capability with the ability to bounce ice just to make the extra money that you need when you need it. But again, a lot of these decks do play with a lot of econ. I think that's their biggest strength. Is the econ package that they usually play with. So looks like a Faust here for Lori, getting the option to run if he really wants to. So that allows us to start pressuring the remotes.
And there's the very late off-campus apartment.
So it's not going to do much at this point. I mean, it's still nice to put down. But I think he's really... I mean, the hard part is he's a little broke. So, yep, looking like putting the Faust down again. You can start really pressuring servers. I mean, he's got most of the pieces he needs down, so, he's not too afraid to discard cards at this point. So it looks like Shard in hand also. So if he wants to, we can easily run Archives next turn, get that installed. Alright, so looks like, what do you think Elad is really looking for here right now? Do you think he's just trying to get the combo pieces as quickly as he can, before that paparazzi hits the table?
Yeah, I mean,
how does Argus play this matchup?
I don't know, because there's nothing that he can really do to bait out a run except for gets a 5 or 6 points.
Right, absolutely.
And realistically, by the time that happens, so what he's doing here is he's trying to see if Lori will just let him score, because if he will, then he could try to get the score victory, and if he runs that, Lori takes the risk that he's holding the kill combo.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really dangerous,
But he doesn't really have a choice. Elad is playing the only option that he really has, which is try to either score out or land the kill combo before the paparazzi hits the table.
I think Lori might just let this run itself out, it looks like. I think he's feeling pretty comfortable with the pieces that he has on the table, so if Elad scores out 2 points, I don't think he's too concerned right now. Again, once he gets that paparazzi on the table, he can just mill to his heart's content. If he really needs to run something, once the game gets, closer to match, I think then he can at that point. But for right now, he's, sometimes it's okay to give up 2 points. And I think a lot of newer players have that trap where they feel they need to steal every single agenda that hits the table.
Absolutely. And there, you were talking about noise earlier, and that's definitely true. You can let people get to 4 or 5 points if you know that you can close the game.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's more important to save your resources and not bait yourself into getting killed before you...
and it's really easy to have that tunnel vision where you see, I just need these last couple points. And
right. And in Wayland, it's almost always not good. If they're handing you an agenda that it seems like you could easily get, that's not usually the play you want to make.
Absolutely.
But then it becomes a Princess Bride poison scenario where it's like, who's bluffing back and forth.
And the nice thing about that, though, is that was the very early nature of the game. It was meant to be about bluffing things, and it's hard to do that nowadays with the way fast advanced decks are.
Yeah. So we finally do see the off-campus and the street peddler go down.
Yep. So he's hoping to get that paparazzi. So it looks like Fall Guy, Scrubber, and I'm not sure what that third card was. But I think out of those 3 cards, you take the Fall Guy. Oh, Drug Dealer was the third card. So yes, Drug Dealer. Oh, and Inject was the other one. So the draw right into the Street Peddler. So his deck is
he just grabbed this account siphon. So he has a way to give himself tags if he can protect himself from the meat damage.
Yep. Which again,
he's got an I've had worse in hand, so that can keep him somewhat safe.
He's dug through his deck quite a bit, and still hasn't been able to pull out that paparazzi he needs right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure Laurie's got to feel a little frustrated right now, being this deep into the game and not being able to pull that last combo piece.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the nature of these types of decks. Val incubates you from the all-seeing eye, but she also makes it harder for you to get your pieces together.
Absolutely, 50 cards, that's a lot of cards to get through. Alright, so it looks like Laurie's trying to figure out what to discard. So none 6 cards it looks like in hand. Don't need the Inject too badly.
I also think it's interesting the mess of cards that the Val DLR deck creates.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think they have probably the fastest draw engine currently, in the meta right now.
Absolutely. Well, I also think it's interesting that even sometimes decks that are very painful to play against end up creating very interesting theme stories.
Absolutely.
Like if you get the off-campus apartment early, there's 3 drug dealers and 3 fall guys and Joshua B's there, and we're all just hanging out in this one little apartment.
Right.
Yeah, and there's these 3 guys we just invited in case the cops come.
That's a really good story. I really like that.
But it's just basically they're all at a college house, they're all at a college house party.
Right. It's very true. Everybody's getting into trouble. That's all they're just doing, right?
But I think, once the paparazzi hits the table, this game just completely shifts.
Oh, absolutely. I think if you're Laurie, once you hit it, you just go into mill mode.
Right. I don't even necessarily think you need to check archives. You just 5-click mill every turn.
I agree.
Especially with how much Alad's been drawing, we've already got a pretty big discard pile.
Yep. So it looks like still no paparazzi here for Laurie. It's got to be a little frustrating, I think. He is really deep in the deck.
See, this is where maybe you use same old thing for an Inject.
Right.
There's only a couple of programs in the deck. You're going to get to see 4 more cards.
Right, absolutely.
Just a guarantee that you can get it out,
Well, and the hard part is, Laurie's taken so long to find it that Elad has really built up the econ. He has the money if he really wants to start trashing things.
That's true.
And I think that's the unfortunate part with this taking so long for Laurie is, he realizes that even if I get
and
it...
he trashes the Hades shard because he knows he's probably not going to need it.
Yep. So
another off campus.
Still, wow.
It only looks like he's got a handful of cards left.
Yeah, there's not much left there. So Lod
is at
just
5
straight out
points.
scoring. Wow, this is a tough spot for Laurie now. It's just the deck didn't draw what he needed. I think it might be a case of a little too late, at this point.
Yep, he's just gonna go ham. First click, he's gonna play a count siphon.
Might as well. So I think Laurie's kind of getting put in this position where he's just gonna start milling. You know, it's kind of a last-ditch effort. He's got, you know, I've had worse in hand, so he can survive a couple of count siphons if he needs to.
And he's gonna be drawing 2 cards at the end of his turn.
Yep. So he's really safe from that sports play right now.
Oh, the swordsman res.
Oh, wow. That is rough. Wow, that is...
And he hit the I've had worse.
Oh. You know, when it rains, it pours. You know, it's just, things go from bad to worse here for Laurie. So you might as well. You don't have another...
He's resin something for 5, or he's making change.
So I'm thinking Archer, possibly?
Oh, he let him in.
Oh, he let him in. Okay.
So he's got the tags now, so he's full on. And it looks like he's same. No, he didn't. Same old thing. Oh,
nope. He just. Oh, the 1 damage from the swordsman, I think, is what just resolved. No, I think he just. So he trashed it. Oh, I think they just missed the 1 damage from the swordsman. Oh, right, that's right. Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not sure. So same old thing. A count siphon, I'm guessing.
Oh, and the paparazzi's down.
Yep. So yeah, so the same old thing in count siphon is good now. That way, a lot can't start trashing. Okay,
Yep.
Sure. So triple siphon, 1 turn. That's pretty terrifying.
I mean, if you're gonna do it.
Absolutely. Well, now if you're allowed, you gotta feel pretty comfortable just trying to score any agenda you can find. Oh, it looks like. Oh!
What?
He hit the snare. Yeah.
Wow.
Snare into the double scorch. Yep.
So the game ends with snare double scorch.
That's pretty rough. It was an interesting. I mean, he had to feel the Alice, I suppose. You know, so that's why he ran on that last click there.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel, that was just a tough matchup to get that far into the deck and not find your DLR tools.
I mean, he had these fantastic opening. He got almost everything he needed except for
paparazzi.
Yep. You know, and again, like you mentioned, that's the variance of any of these combo decks, you know.
Right, and that's why I would say your mulligans in that Val deck are very matchup dependent. If you're against what you anticipate is a meat damage deck,
right,
you probably mulligan for the paparazzi.
Absolutely.
Whereas otherwise you might just be looking for a wireless net and a off-campus apartment in your opening hand.
Right, absolutely.